Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Hines, for being with us today. And of course, you are the president of Stellantis Canada, and you were invited to discuss the quite shocking news that Canada received just a few weeks ago that your company was moving the production of the Jeep Compass facility to Illinois in the United States out of Brampton, which laid off 3,000 workers and, of course, impacted 3,000 families there. And obviously, of course, in that announcement, your company announced a $13 billion investment in the United States that will create 5,000 direct jobs and countless more indirect American jobs. So very concerning, especially in light of the very considerable subsidy deals you signed with the Liberal government, among others. And so I would like to ask you about those contracts, sir. Just off the top, did any of these agreements that you signed with the Liberal government come with the jobs guarantees that Stellantis would maintain its employment footprint in Canada?
Well, what I can tell you is that we are committed to our employees at Brampton, our employees in Canada. The dynamics of the contract and the contract signed, some of that obviously is going to remain confidential as the nature of those contracts are. But we are committed to maintaining the workforce in Canada.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. No, I appreciate that, but I don't believe I'm asking you to reveal anything that's commercially sensitive. I'm just asking if you agreed to take up to, well, I can break it down as well, but up to about $16.5 billion from the taxpayer, many of that from agreements with the Liberal government in exchange for, among other things, a Canada-wide jobs guarantee. I don't believe that that's commercially sensitive.
Well, what we have done is, and I think it's clear, and this is an important point, I think, for the committee, is the plant is not closed. The workers remain laid off, and our commitment to those workers will remain. And what we are working through is potential possibilities for that plant to get those workers back to work in a way that's commercially viable.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. But I do believe, from what we've understood from previous testimony on Monday, that while you are saying that publicly, that you do have plans, I do believe that that is in fact contingent on Canada getting an auto sector deal. And unfortunately, we haven't had any commitment from the Liberal government that an auto deal is imminent or forthcoming, or really it just hasn't been communicated that that's something that's on the near horizon. So my understanding is there are no plans for Brampton unless there is an auto deal, and a good auto deal for Canada. Is that not the case?
Well, we certainly need some clarity from the trade situation that we have today. It's fluid, as you saw recent announcements over the last week. It's obviously a very fluid situation. But what we need, and I think the industry needs collectively, is clearly some stability in trade conversations so we can adjust and invest accordingly.
Right, but our understanding is the Trump administration is very determined on these tariffs, and in fact, they've stated it, and I'll paraphrase, but my takeaway was that they're looking to bleed Canada's auto sector dry, and we are bleeding a lot of auto jobs, and that seems to be their mission. And again, we aren't receiving any confidence from the Liberal government that they're going to deliver an auto deal for Canadians imminently or on the near horizon. So, if all things being equal, and your situation that you're in today remains the same, a year from now, will that Brampton plant be operational?
I think I can't speculate on that hypothetical. We certainly want to work with both sides of the government to come to a solution that maintains jobs and does the best that we can to keep Canadian jobs and keep Canadian manufacturing and keep our folks at Brampton working with a long-term sustainable operation.
Thank you.
We certainly want.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Hines. I'm just going to run through some of the funding commitments that came from the Liberal government that you're currently receiving. So over the past 3 years, Stellantis has received deals worth about $1 billion in direct capital grants to modernize and retool your Windsor and Brampton facilities for electric vehicles and hybrid production. $529 million of that commitment was from the federal government, from the Strategic Innovation Fund, and to my knowledge, over $105 million has already flowed to your company. And further to that, the Liberal government also committed to provide you support of up to $500 million through the SIF fund as well for capital expenditures for your Nexstar Energy battery plant in Windsor, and $268 million of that has flowed. So within those agreements, again, I'll ask you again, was there a Canada-wide jobs guarantee?
There certainly was every effort made to make sure that all of those investments are working. And I'll just go back to what I said originally, is that we have had over 1,000 jobs done at our Nexstar Energy plant. We have added and are in the process of adding 1,500 additional jobs at Windsor. And the folks at Brampton remain as part of our employment and employees, and we want to continue that And that's what we're trying to do. And certainly want to work with our union colleagues in the government to make sure we can do that.
Thank you. And I'll ask you again about the Next Star Energy plant on the other subsidy agreement that came from the Liberal government in partnership with the government from Ontario. And that was to be up to $15 billion. In that agreement, sir, was there a Canada-wide jobs guarantee? I'm pretty keen on this, so I'll ask you again.
And I would reiterate that we continue to have employment there. It's 1,000 employees today with plans to add additional workers as the plant expands and the volume of what we do at that plant expands. So certainly have employees there today and more to come.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. But I am a bit concerned because, again, I don't believe that this is commercially sensitive information of whether or not you committed with up to $16.5 billion of taxpayer funding and subsidies from the Liberal government and others. I don't believe it's commercially sensitive to ask and for you to say whether within any of those agreements, any of those multiple agreements, the Liberal government required a Canada-wide jobs guarantee in exchange for that considerable level of taxpayer funding. So I am concerned that you're not saying, which to me seems like there wasn't.
So we continue to have jobs and we expand that plant. We continue to expand at our Windsor plant as well. We certainly appreciate all the support that we've gotten from both the provincial and the federal government. But certainly this is also an unusual time. And over the last 9 months especially, certainly more fluid than any of us expected when those contracts were completed.
Thank you, Mr. Hines.
Thank you, Madame Dancho. Madame O'Rourke, 6 minutes.
Chair Carr. So, Mr. Hines, I certainly hope you're able to keep the commitments that you made in your opening statements for Canada and to the auto workers. You understand at this really challenging time when the government is standing with our auto sector and standing with our auto workers, that news that you are moving the Jeep Compass from Brampton to Illinois, making substantial investments in the United States, is really challenging as we try to fortify our auto sector in light of these unjustified and punishing U.S. tariffs. And I'm going to suggest, sir, that Stellantis' actions are contributing to this instability. And I'm going to assume you don't treat all your contractual obligations this way, despite market changes. A contract's a contract. So you, sir, are on the hook for millions of dollars, and I'd like to know how this is affecting your business decisions.
A few things I would say there, and I think that's a lot to digest. Number one, what we would like to get to is some clarity on the current economic and trade situation. As you can imagine, not a Stellantis only problem, and maybe not an auto industry only problem. Extremely difficult to make investment decisions given the current environment that we're all living in today. And so the first thing we'd like to get to is some level of clarity, whether that's through CUSMA, USMCA, but something that's going to get us to some level of understanding what the current trade environment is going to be so we can make the right investment decisions to get back on track here in Canada.
Well, that's certainly the objective of the Government of Canada as well. I'm sure you would agree that we want to work with our industry partners and the auto workers to reach that stability, and that every effort is being made to do that. I just want to shift to Brampton for a moment. So while the addition of the third shift in Brampton doesn't really release you from any of the contractual obligations, it is welcome. So I would be curious to know, what are those plans for Brampton?
So the plans for Brampton, as you can imagine, a little commercially sensitive, something we're not going to discuss publicly. But I can tell you that I have seen a couple different potential options for the plant at Brampton. I think they both make sense for Canada. And we look forward to when we get some stability to the current environment. I think it could do good things for the plant and good things for our customers across Canada.
How am I on time?
You got 3.5 minutes.
Okay. So I am curious to know whether you worked with government prior to making this announcement, whether there was consultation with Unifor or the auto workers, and how did you arrive at this surprising conclusion?
We've had consistent conversation with a lot of stakeholders over the past 9 months. Certainly, as some of the communication has gone, some commercially sensitive that we were unable to share, some that we did share, but we have had communication with all levels of government, especially over the last 9 months, where I would say Some of our challenge was with the direct conversation we had with our Brampton workforce. A difficult message clearly to deliver, and I'm sure even harder to receive when we made that announcement a few weeks back. So certainly a lot of empathy for our workers in that situation, but we did have numerous conversations through all levels of government over the last 6 to 9 months.
Great. And my last question, Mr. Hines. Clearly, everyone's been rocked by these unfair, unjustified tariffs from the United States over the last 9 months. But going back in history, going back 5 years, how would you describe the soundness of these investments because of the quality of our workforce, because the quality of Canadian automakers? So these investments, would you say they were in line with global trends, that they were contributing to the efficiency of the production facilities?
I would say they're a large part of the former FCA, going back 5 years ago, now Stellantis, a large part of our operations, great workforce across our Canadian footprint, and they were a big part of our success over the last 5 years. And as I said, much longer than that. So a certain element of Canada that's been a great big part of our collective business over many years.
30 seconds. Do you have an idea of the timeline when we will be able to hear what's next for Brampton to give those families some hope?
I wish I could give a definitive timeline, but as you can imagine, the situation today is so fluid, and the uncertainty in regards to our current trade situation and our current economic environment, I cannot give a timeline when that would happen. I do know this: the sooner we can come to some clarity on the trade situation and the current economic environment that we're all living in, the sooner we can make those announcements, and the sooner we can work with that plan with our union colleagues, our workers at Brampton, and the federal government as well.
I certainly hope that we can count on you to stay in Canada, sir, and to continue to create opportunities for auto workers.
Thank you. Monsieur Saint-Marie, 6 minutes.
Oui, bonjour.
Hello, Mr. Hines. Thank you for participating in this committee meeting. This is a very important study. We are very concerned. The American President Trump, is saying that he wants to bring back industrial jobs from the automotive industry back to the U.S., and he has launched this trade war, and we are now finding out that your company is going to move the production of the Jeep Compass from Ontario to Illinois. And at the same time, you're going to invest billions of dollars in the United States. So as parliamentarians, we are worried that the Canadian automotive industry, especially in Ontario, is being undermined. So this decision to move the production of Jeep Compass from Ontario to Illinois, when did you announce it to the Canadian government?
The official announcement to the Canadian government was done at about the same time we announced to the world. It was done slightly prior to that. I will say we did have additional conversations on some of the challenges we faced across the board, going back many months prior. But I'll go back to your comments on, commitment to Ontario, commitment to the Canadian automotive footprint. We want to be in Canada. We have had a great, strong history in Canada. We've added 2,500 jobs roughly between what we have done coming at Windsor and what we've done with our battery plant as well, and then the additional engineering jobs that we brought to our research and development center here. So we are committed to Canada. We want to maintain our presence in Canada, and we've got a great history. We want to continue to build on that history.
Merci pour votre réponse. Est-ce que aujourd'hui...
Thank you for your answer. Can you guarantee today that Stellantis will not reduce its activities or the number of people it employs in Canada?
What I can say is this, is we are fully committed to Canada, and that's why we're going through hiring processes now for the additional jobs that I mentioned in Windsor. The production there will start in February, so not that far away. We are committed to continue that expansion. We're committed to working and expanding our battery plant. So we're committed to Canada and want to continue to do that. Given the uncertainty of the trade situation today, obviously a very fluid situation as we're all dealing with, but we would like and we want to continue our expansions in our business in Canada.
Merci encore une fois pour votre réponse.
Thank you again for your answer, but this is quite worrying for me because I do understand the current circumstances, uncertainty. Many companies are facing the same situation. It applies to the automotive industry, but you're saying that you want to continue your activities and keep hiring people and keep the workforce you had, but you are not able today, at least, to let the committee know that you're going to maintain the same level of activity and the same level of number of employees or growth. So that's what I'm getting from your answer. And this, I think, is quite worrying to all of my colleagues here in this room. Now,
in expanding, and that's why the additional jobs that I just mentioned, we're working through. We are not looking to shrink our footprint. In fact, it's quite the opposite with the addition of the 1,500 jobs in a third shift at Windsor. And we're not doing that for the short term. We want to maintain that for the long term. So we're looking to increase our employee footprint from what we have today.
Merci pour ces clarifications.
thank you for clarifying. This is more reassuring. Now, with regard to the Jeep Compass that was produced in Ontario, what was the amount that was provided by the federal government for the retooling of the plant, and how are you assessing the impact in terms of the promises made? So what was promised and what was delivered?
What we are working towards and what we want to continue to work with and collaborate with both our union colleagues and the government is a way forward at Brampton, a way forward that meets the commitments that we all collectively have made, and that has the potential to be a product that would not be the Jeep Compass as was originally planned. That's true, but something else that would fit the current environment, we think, better than the Jeep Compass would today.
Merci. Quels sont les principes?
Thank you. What are the key factors that led you to move the production of the Jeep Compass to the United States?
Well, I think it's clear from our comments that it's an important segment for North America. It's a large segment both in Canada and the U.S., and that's something that we need to get a new product to market in as quickly as we could. The current situation that we are all faced with, the uncertainty and the changing market dynamics that have happened over the last 9 months made that very challenging, very difficult to say the least. And those are the reasons that the company made that decision.
Une très rapide dernière question pour ce.
One final quick question for this round. If it wasn't for the tariffs and the commercial war initiated by Donald Trump, would you be producing the Jeep Compass in Brampton?
I think there's a lot of market dynamics at play that impacted not only that, but the industry in total. So certainly multiple dynamics. Did that have a large impact? Certainly the current situation certainly had an impact.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.